Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas and I have the pleasure of welcoming Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh to this week's edition of This Week with Padma Shri Dr. Parikh. Dr. Sir, welcome, Namaste.
Namaskar.
And I must convey that we are getting positive feedback for this conversation every week. And as we open up the conversation, let us go towards the current scenario with respect to US presidential race. And I must mention that many people were looking forward to second presidential debate, which was due on 15th October. That is not happening. And overall, how do you see the excitement among voters?
Well, I think as the time comes closer, everyone is paying more attention or more focus on the election. And election, of course, is not as kind of vibrant as used to be every 4 years, but because of the COVID situation. But now again, people are paying more attention to the issues and agendas and what candidates are saying. And I think we are getting there, and I think everyone is hopefully going to get involved in it, and maximum number of people should vote for it. Go and vote for candidate of their choice.
Talking about candidate of their choice, and as we all are aware, America being a great country, and one element of its greatness lies in it is a capitalist economy, and it encourages entrepreneurial spirit. And the impression that we have about Democratic Party and Republican Party is different in terms of Democrats having a label of being socialist. Do you see that have some substance, or it is just a way of discarding their promising position?
Well, I mean, history has proven that why America is great or why America is superb, because of their free capitalistic economy and their entrepreneurship. So by discouraging entrepreneurship or by taxing the entrepreneurs, those who work hard, I think Democratic Party's agenda may drag down the USA's economic power and and once you drag down your economic power, then you cannot be a superpower in the world.
So now, if we want America to remain superpower, then the question of going towards Democrats starts becoming dim. But the poll, as is being given by various news outfits, in one you see Democrat Biden is 53% and Republican Trump 42%. The gap is quite significant. Whether these projections are anywhere close to what really happens, we will see. But what, in your opinion, is the cause that has given this much lead to Biden over Trump?
I think it's because of the perception of the people that President Trump has not handled COVID-19 situation as they all want to, I mean, or they all wish to. And therefore, kind of poor perception of the handling of the COVID-19 situation gives this kind of difference in the poll results.
The electoral vote also becomes a deciding factor in the end. So number of votes in the previous elections were more for Hillary Clinton, but she couldn't make it to White House. From that point of view, do you see that both candidates are paying due attention to some of the battleground states?
Yes, they are, and actually, this election is not election of the 50 state, but is election of the 5 or 10 state, because that's how, because our electoral system is such that Even a state like California, New York, New Jersey doesn't count. So that and they lose their importance because of it is predetermined thing. So I think yes, because of the electoral system, which is really a good system, but because that's only way you can have representation of the all state, whether they are small or big, and therefore obviously there is a different way of fighting the election in America.
Talking about being smart in fighting the election, paying due attention to the way the system works, media also plays significant role, but that role keeps changing. And we have the polarized media in America as well as in India now. So, do you see that reduces the overall potential impact that media can play to influence voters in either side?
No, I think media's role is to inform the voters the way they prefer to inform, and therefore whatever they are doing is fine as long as the voter can interpret themselves and with the inform facts. Then I think whatever media is doing, sometimes it doesn't make much difference, as we saw in the last election. All the media, 90%, 9 out of 10 medias were with Hillary Clinton, and she lost the election. So media can influence the people up to a certain extent, because people then they have their own way of figuring out who is telling the truth, who is hyping the truth, or who is undermining the truth.
So now people have to pay attention to both kind of views. And let me bring to your attention the news related to bipartisan Christian groups forming a super PAC to oppose Trump. And this is by Associate Press, and it says group of prominent Christians from both sides of the aisle, including a past faith advisor to former President Barack Obama, is forming a political action committee designed to, of course, oppose President Trump. Um, Sometimes these kind of groups may also not have a big following. They are more visible on news headlines. I don't know about this group, but your take on this kind of a possibility, because every time you think that Trump being more right, and so he has more Christian voters base.
Well, I mean, historically, Trump has a much larger Christian base than Democratic Party, Vice President Biden. But this kind of a group which you are mentioning, it's a kind of a leadership group. We don't know how much is followers there, and therefore, but they have right to do whatever they think is right thing. So we are not kind of we are encouraging any sorts of group, but I think their effect on the election result is minuscule.
Absolutely. Now, as Indian American, we have talked about it, but once again, because we are very close to elections, uh, if you have interests of India and America at heart, as an Indian American, would you have a clear-cut choice in front of you whether to go for Biden or Trump?
Yes, I think so, because historically, Republican administration in last 40 years at least, since I'm observing the election cycles, I think Republican administration is much more closer to help U.S.-India relation than Democratic administration. So that way, yes, if you are purely looking at that one factor, that who will help India, probably it will be Republican administration more than Democratic administration.
So Biden supporters are trying to work um, to uh, to come up with ideas which are contrary to what you just said. And so they have many videos highlighting how Biden is going to be good for India and all that. But again, it is people's choice at the end of the day. And talking about people's choice, there's another image which Democrats are referring to, with Trump not being a darling for academicians, journalists, and intellectuals. Do you see any substance to it, and will it have potential to impact number of votes?
Yeah, I mean, there is some substance to it. I mean, I agree that a lot of people do not like the style of the Trump administration, or President Trump's administration, and the way they handle the COVID-19, or they handle certain other ally in the Europe. But again, all story has two sides of the story. So we don't know. I mean, on one hand, he did not kind of care about, or did not much pay attention or importance to our ally. But on the other hand, because of him, all those ally, all this year, since the last 30, 40 years, were never contributing to NATO expenses, they started doing it. So we don't know which one is better. For America, I think what Trump administration is doing is America first, which is kind of a nationalistic approach, which may or may not be good in a world like today's world, where everybody wants to be not nationalist approach, but approach to cater everyone, all friends and foe together.
Absolutely. Now, moving towards India, Dr. Saab, IMF has projected that Indian economy is going to grow at 8.8% in 2021, and that calls for a kind of celebration, and it's a good news for India as well as for Modi government. Your response to it?
I think it's a great news. It's a great news because, I mean, to be honest, those who are those Indian American who are watching India closely, and even American, those who are watching India closely, they all were concerned about India's economy because of the COVID-19. And if IMF is predicting that it will bounce back in 2021, that's a great news. And that is really good for India. And if it is good for India, it's good for world.
I like that. If it is good for India, it is good for the world. You want to elaborate? How do you consider something which is good for India is good for the world?
Well, because 1/5 of the population of the world is India. And a lot of intellectual, lot of IT experts, a lot of doctors are from India, which is all over the world, and they are contributing to development of all the countries, each and every country, wherever they are, including USA. So that's why whatever is good for India is good for the world.
So that's beautiful, pragmatic way of looking at it. And then I was, if I take the liberty of mentioning that unity in diversity being the hallmark of Indian culture, and it offers the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So it is good for the world that way also. But now I bring to you another good news from India, which also is related to one of your friend who is chairman of National Cow Commission, and he has come up with an idea of manufacturing uh, eco-friendly diyas using cow dung, and they are planning to make over 33 crore such diyas, and that is also to offset the Chinese goods in India. Your response to this development?
I think it's a great idea, great concept to use cow dung and to make the diya which is eco-friendly. And as you know that even in India, for last when I was a child and I was in young age, always we used to have diya made out of this kind of cow dung and the clay, and those are the very eco-friendly, and it can be disposed of easily, and it can be made easily, and it can be disposed of easily, and therefore I think that's a great idea.
And as we move towards the concluding part. The upcoming festival of Deepavali also is happening next month. Presidential election also happening next month. But we are still grappling with the situation caused by COVID-19. So, your advice on the precautions that we should continue to maintain, and any words with respect to um, discharging one's duty as citizen by casting vote, definitely.
I think let's talk about election first. I mean, it's our duty and our right to cast a vote in election, and all Indian Americans, those who are citizens of USA, should go and vote for a candidate of their choice. Because this is the only time you get a chance to express your happiness or disappointment towards the party and towards the candidate. Number two, about COVID. Yes, COVID is still with us. Hopefully, we are hoping that COVID, some kind of treatment like antibody cocktails may come by Eli Lilly or Regeneron Pharma can come and get approved by end of this month. And if it is so, then there is a great improvement in the treatment of the COVID, and vaccine will be coming probably end of the year. And that is also, we are anxiously waiting for that. But till then, always wear the mask when you are outdoor. Continue personal hygiene as much as possible. And third thing is keep the distance from each other, at least 6 feet, to prevent connect to spread the COVID-19 virus. And also try, and right now, a most common spreader of the COVID-19 is indoor parties, indoor bar, and indoor restaurant eating. So try to avoid as much as you can. And always remember that because someone is your friend or your relatives, doesn't mean that you should not wear mask and they cannot give you COVID or you cannot give COVID to him. So therefore, please wear the mask and follow the guidelines. Thank you for joining us. It's a real pleasure. Let me wish you happy Diwali in advance, and God bless America, God bless India, and be very responsible and active citizens of the USA. Thank you.